Good morning. This is DadSchooled Podcast. I'm Josh, and that's Jimmy, and we are back for the second most consistent week so far.
In a while.
A while, yeah.
We've been able to get weeks back to back.
We haven't had a back to back in a while. This is good. Yeah, we're kicking the summer off in high fashion, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm telling you, end of the school year just it bears down on you, and there's so many things happening. But yeah, that's behind, and now it's summer. So here we go.
Do you guys still doing any school at all?
Yeah, we do some things. A little bit of catch up on some math stuff that maybe it's good to keep that somewhat active throughout the summer, so that I always felt like at the beginning of the next school year, I had to like really get my footing back under me again. So we keep it, quasi active through the summer, just so it's not lost.
Yeah, we growing up, I guess my grades must have suffered so bad one summer that my dad instituted what he called the half hour of power.
Did he say it that way? I hope so.
No, he didn't. It would have been epic if he did, though. But no, he actually this is back in the day when parents would leave their kids. Yeah, I guess it still happens nowadays, but my mom worked full time, right? My dad worked the night shift, and he'd come home at 8 or 7 or 8 in the morning and go to sleep. My mom would leave for work, and he'd be home, and my sister and I would be home all summer, right? And we were middle schoolish age, so we'd be hanging out. We have things we had to take care of. We have tasks. We have normal chores to keep the house clean and whatnot, but we'd also have school, which is the half hour power. We had summer reading clubs. We had to read books, which was not included in half hour power, but we'd have some kind of workbook, a math workbook or something that we had to complete, and then we had to do an activity, and it was usually something like, here's a video camera, find a household product and sell it, make a commercial, and then we're gonna.
Oh, that's creative.
Oh, it is, and it was really super cool. And my sister and I learned how to use a video camera, and we learned how to we helped each other, right? And she'd do her commercial, I'd do my commercial, and we'd show our parents in the evening. And that's the one that stuck out the most to me. But the whole point of this is we couldn't do anything like TV or anything. That's all we had really to do until we had the half hour power out of the way. So yeah, I tried that a little.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
our oldest is wanting to do like videography stuff. Like
you probably like that. You'd be like, we're gonna do this, and she's like, all right.
Oh yeah, she'll not think it's school. She'll be like, my dad's the coolest. So yeah, thanks. I like it.
That's when Wind Duck was created. Actually, my commercial took a bottle of Windex, and I changed the letters with a Sharpie to be Wind Duck, and I drew a duck on it, and I was selling Wind Duck to my parents.
And now I see it on every shelf of every store across America.
Yep. I actually use that later on. This is way off topic, obviously, but later on in life, in a HR new hires icebreaker challenge, you had to sell an imaginary product to the group. And I'm like, everyone's like, when they heard that, you can see like the fear of everything in their life approach them, and they're like, nearly deer in headlights and incapacitated with fear, because there's a whole room of people they don't know, brand new company or work starting at, and they're like, "I'm gonna go first." I'm like, "I got this," and they're like, "What?" Like 5 seconds after hearing it, I knew exactly what I was gonna sell. I was like, "I'm gonna sell you a Wind Duck," and they're like, "What's that?" So I told them, I sold them the product, and they're like, "That was amazing, Josh." Like, my childhood. Thanks, Dad.
Practicing this for 30 years.
Exactly. All right. Speaking of practicing things for 30 years. Moses. That's today's topic. This continues our little series. Not yesterday. Last week, Jimmy. Do you remember what we talked about? Do you remember anything from last week?
Yeah. We had Moses killed a guy, and then ran off.
That, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And then ran off in the wilderness. But while he's out there feeling like a sad sack, sorry for himself, then God shows up and calls him.
Yes, that is one way to put all that. So we had a burning bush of sorts that God appeared to Moses in, and he basically went back and forth with Moses, trying to, I don't say trying to convince him, but Moses was trying to get out of this. Like he was straight up giving all the excuses he could to a burning bush, and the creator of the universe, like, not to offend you, but I don't think I'm the guy for you,
Right.
But it was we drew a parallel to that of, as fathers, where we often don't feel prepared, but God will equip us. So picking up from there, Moses went forth. He went forth, and he I'm not going to say sojourn, because that's just the word I want to say, because I hear that in the Bible all the time. But he went forth to he collected his brother, and he went to Egypt to confront Pharaoh. Right. So
he obeyed. Like that's the big.
Yeah.
That's the big sticking point is yeah. I mean, God showed up and he's like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. Moses, to his credit, followed through.
Yeah. He I guess I would argue that once someone tells you to throw your staff to the ground, it turns into a snake, and then makes you pick it up, you probably lose all doubt of like, I'm not gonna get out of this anymore.
It's one of those moments that kind of sticks with you for a little bit.
Yeah. So he went forth, and it got really easy for him then, right?
Absolutely. That was the end of the book. That was it.
That's it. Roll the credits, Michael Bay.
Yeah, roll credits.
No, so he went forth. He was obedient to God. God straight up told him, what was going to happen. Like, this wasn't a big secret to Moses either. He went in knowing that he was going to have trouble. He knew. I believe it even says that he lays the entire plan out for him, right? Like, I'm going to bring pestilence and disease across this nation. It's going to be terrible. And I mean, how would you feel, Jimmy, delivering that type of message to somebody?
It's so hard putting yourself in that that situation of, yeah, how would I respond? But like, to your credit, okay, there's the whole burning bush scenario, and my staff turns into snake. Like, I've seen some crazy stuff now. I would like to say I would be inclined to go, okay, this is the Lord. He's legit. Let's go. But I would probably be apprehensive, like Moses was.
I mean, he sent him to like the most powerful ruler in the world at the time. The very person that Moses had fled before.
Exactly. We kind of mentioned that last week, that he was the perfectly situated person to do this, because he was an Israelite by blood and grew up in the household of Pharaoh. Like, he's the guy, and so he steps up and he goes and he does it.
Yeah, but the whole moral of the story so far is Moses started putting his faith in God. Like, he trusted God, and he went forth and did what seemed to be the impossible. That's what we kind of pick up at. In a nutshell, let's just say Exodus 5:1. Bless you.
Sorry.
ESV. Thus says the Lord God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness. The first part of that, let my people go, is probably like, I would argue, one of the most well-known phrases in the world, right? At this time. At this time now, not that time. It was, it's like the first time it's ever been spoken, probably at that time. But it's Pharaoh was like, you got me. Let's go right ahead, right? Like, we all kind of know this story. It didn't happen that way. Moses met a lot of resistance. It wasn't an easy road. But even more so, like, Pharaoh's response was one of like, who is this God that you speak of? It's not my God. Why should I listen to anything that you're saying? Which, we've all felt, drawing the parallel to fatherhood. Let's just bring it into the whole core reason we're here, right, Jimmy? Um, how often have you ever been in a position of authority and you have gone forth with this is actually kind of a funny setup. Um, I'm not calling your wife Pharaoh, but if you have gone forth to your children with no, I guess I'd be calling your wife God at this point, wouldn't I? If you're the messenger, if your wife has a message that your kids have to do something, right? And you're like, hey, you have to go do this to your kids will be Pharaoh at that moment, and you be Moses in this
Okay.
parallel society world
Trying to
universe.
track. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just tracking my mind.
Okay.
And then your kid's like, no, whose authority is this? I own this bedroom. I don't have to clean this up. That's kind of the same scenario. But I mean, all
Almost
jokes aside,
identical.
almost the same thing, yeah. But all jokes aside, like as dads, we deal with the battle and power of authority all the time. Like we have the authority in our households. Some would say God given, it is scriptural that we make decisions and lead our family correctly. But yeah, we get pushback all the time, right? And we get pushed back all the time, even doing the right things. Like we try to lead our families in Bible studies, or try to lead our families to go to church on Sunday. We try to lead our families to go to midweek, any kind of activities, anything that we do. We get pushback, whether it be from scheduling, whether it be from society outside or inside our own house. We get pushback. And that's kind of like the parallel we're drawing today is being faithful to God isn't exactly easy. You're going to get pushback, but you gotta have faith, and God's going to back you up because it is the right thing that we're supposed to be doing, and you never really go astray when you're leading your family the right way that God wants you to lead them. So that's it, Jimmy. That's early day today. We can probably sign off. As capped the entire, all done.
Yeah, we see it's such a roller coaster. This whole like chapter and a half, this section before we actually start getting to the signs and wonders and the 10 plagues. Like it's an absolute roller coaster where Moses does show up and he starts to meet with the Israelite leaders, the elders, and tells them God's plan, shows them some of the signs and the wonders, and the people are like, "Oh, yeah, like we're on board." And they're all excited. I'm sure Moses is like, okay, yeah, I'm doing what God asked me to do. Like, this is great. Everything is going according to plan. And then he goes and talks to Pharaoh, gets back in his throne room, whatever, tells him the plan. And Pharaoh's response is the whole bricks with gathering your own straw. Got the people got to work harder, get more work done. And then this is where things turn even more sour. I had never, I don't know why, I just like breezed past this part all the other times I'd ever read the story, but just in the last year, I was like, oh dang, this got really, really bad. Because then the Egyptian taskmasters who are in charge of the Israelite foremen, so that's kind of the structure is the Egyptians have their task people who are overseeing what the Israelites are doing. And then the Israelites have their own set of foremen who are Israelites themselves in charge of the people doing the work. They get beaten. The Israelite foremen, because of Moses stepping forward and talking to Pharaoh and giving this command from God, these foremen get a beat down. And so then they go back to Pharaoh and they're like, why are you doing this to us? It's because of your own rule that you just made that this work has gotten harder for us. And so he's like, okay, fine, no straw. Do it with no straw. Like Moses is obeying God. He's doing what God asked him to do, and the situation is getting worse. I feel like there's times in my life I'm like, I'm doing what God asked, and things aren't going swimmingly, and that's where Pharaoh or where Moses is fighting himself, and that to me is a relatable moment. I don't think I've ever had anyone get beaten because of me obeying God that I'm aware of. But man, that's a hard position.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any snarky stories or comebacks to that. It's pretty real. doing the right
Well,
thing, but things get worse.
why do you think Moses? Why do you think Moses followed through? I mean, he continued to follow
Why?
and continued.
Because the God of the
Yeah,
universe appeared to him and was like, "You're gonna do this." I think Moses. I'm not trying to like paint him in a different picture than he should be, but I really think not only was he faithful, but he was really between a rock and a hard place at this point. It's like, "You're gonna go do this," and he's like, "I don't want to do this," and God's like, "You're
between
gonna
a
do
rock
this
and a
still."
burning bush.
Yeah, yeah. There's I don't know. I wonder if there's something else that was said to him besides what was recorded in scripture.
Yeah.
Like, the whole Lord
Well,
of
I
the
mean,
Rings, like, you're gonna watch him Samwise Gamgee or I'm turning into a toad kind of scenario. I wonder if
that's
Moses
right.
was like, "You see this bush? It could be you. It could really be on fire." And he's like, "Okay, God, I'm gonna go to Egypt now."
No, I mean, it makes me think of. I mean, it said um, Proverbs 9 something, and then I think it's said like a few times in Scripture, but um, the phrase "the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." Um, that's a verse that stuck with me for a long time, and so I was always, when I was younger, like, be afraid of God because He's going to smite me, oh mighty smiter. Like
Oh,
that's
nice
not
Bruce Almighty
that's
reference there.
there you go. Yeah. That's not the gist of it. That's not what we're going for. That you're supposed to be afraid of God and his wrath. I mean, maybe that's a component of it. But it's
It's
where
a
I see it now is
reverence
like,
of his
what's,
power.
yeah, and what my internal motivation now is,
Hmm.
because um am I in reverence and awe of the mighty power and works of God, or am I in reverence and awe of the substandard but powerful works of man and what leverage they might have over me? What's my motivation now in life? Am I um fearful is not the I don't want to say fearful like, afraid, but am I fearful of God or am I fearful of man?
Yeah.
Where am I? What quadrant am I sitting in? And I've now tried to use that as my filter of, as I go through life, am I making my decisions in the direction we're going because of God's commands or man's
Mm.
commands? And that's where I feel like that verse comes from. And that's where Moses stood up. He's like, no, this is God's thing. And yeah, I know this stinks, but but he doesn't immediately stand up like super brave and everything's great.
Yeah.
Like he has a moment. He has a moment of doubt. Where is it?
And
Oh, go
that's
ahead.
a really good point of this world versus God's power. Like, which one you're going to kind of submit to and do things in life because of. That's really a real question because we don't always see God's power in every moment of our life. Like, I guess if you look around, you're not really blind. Yes, you can see God's power and make inferences, but you're not witnessing it directly. You're not seeing mountains literally move in front of you at his command. You're not seeing some of the things that they did see back then, right? Um, Ocean splitting, which we're going to ruin that and say that happens. It's not in this one, but sorry. But you don't see the miracles nowadays. But what you do see? You see the depravity of man and what we can do to each other. So there's that fear that we have in today's society of what a fellow man can do to you. And you don't see what God can do to you. Not saying it should all be about fear and like what people can do to you, but that's like, I think that's a good basis for you can really touch and feel today's what mankind can do to each other. You can experience the love, you can experience the lust, and you can experience all the things of the flesh. But it's
Mhm.
really, you have to look deeper to really experience um, God's love and God's wrath. I mean, you have to kind of research it and dig into it and understand it. And it's there to unpack from the Bible, but it's not readily in your face sometimes, or as easily accessible. It is, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to throw down here. It's like
Yeah,
you have two, but
yeah.
one's easier to access and wants to corrupt you versus like God wants to corrupt you with love and his spirit, right? But like
Yeah.
you said, you're seeing which power you're going to submit to is a good way to put that.
Oh, and there's so many, so many avenues for, I'd say, the enemy to get a foothold in the lives of men in general, but just people, people all over. With, I mean, I haven't had to deal with it. It was cancel culture on social media, since I don't exist there. I haven't had
Oh,
to
you got
worry about
canceled.
that one.
You got canceled.
Well, no, yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I'm no longer working for large corporations, and I'll have to worry about getting called into HR's office because I'm not towing the party line on whatever is the new initiative that's being rolled out that I would have issue with or something like that. So, yeah, I'm a little removed from some of those things, but those exist. Those pressures and those fears,
Yes,
absolutely exist, and they creep into your daily life and decision making process. Like, it can be legitimately difficult.
without getting too far into get myself fired from my current job, yeah, they do exist because I worked at like one, two, two and a half, three places ago. I used to work. They were heavily on the woke side on everything they did, and they thought it was just being kind and inclusive and all those other key buzzwords. And it was hard for me as a new Christian. Like I was a relatively new Christian at that moment. It was really hard for me to say, like, I'm working at this place. Is this where I should be working? Like, should I be doing this, or should I find someplace else? Purely based on what they are kind of spewing out. And luckily, I was never put in a position where I had to compromise my Christianity. I was able to respectfully just say no or not participate in something, and no one really questioned anything or brought anything up at the moment. Fast forward to the place I'm at now, I'm in a position of leadership at the place I'm at now with a team under me. So it's even more like you can't do some of the wrong things. You can't say the wrong things either way. You can't say the wrong things. So it is towing that line of trying not to go down the woke side whenever company has initiatives and things that they want you to say and do, and just trying to stay true to God respectfully. So it's a struggle, and that's kind of like lean into some of these questions here. Like, Jimmy, have you ever had to do the right thing and been mocked for it by somebody?
Yeah.
Now put it in a dad context, though. Put it in a dad context. Like in your dadhood,
I remember
as a father,
as a kid, like I got derided all the time when I was a kid for not jumping in and being like everyone else with all the whatever was going on at the time.
But as a dad, yeah.
I'm trying to think of a specific scenario.
How much has your wife mocked you for being a good Christian dad?
Thankfully, my wife is amazing, and we're on the same page. We're equally yoked, as it were.
That was not the case for my wife and I when we first started down the Christianity journey, because I was not a Christian. I was an atheist. So our yoke was not equally hooked up. I said that backwards. We weren't equally yoked, but it was difficult, and there was definitely strife. I actually, this is gonna be a humbling moment for me. I was the mocker of my wife, which was hard to swallow. It's not an easy position to come back from. I think I've done pretty well coming back from that, but it was not my finest hour. And my wife is probably a good picture of this. She was trying to walk the correct path with our kids. She was trying to raise them in the church and doing church activities. And I was the one mocking her for doing that. So take that, humble pie, Josh. Right in the face. But no, it was definitely hard for her. And she stayed true. My kids, and the way innocent kids are, like at the time, I probably mentioned this before, like at the time of my darkest hours, as thinking that I was better than everybody else, and it was all pridefulness for myself. I had my twin daughters sitting up in their room. It's time for bed, and they're like, "Dad, can you read this story from this Bible for me?" I'm like, as a dad, like, yes, I'll read to you. I don't want to read this, but you're asking me to, so I will. So it's like their little spirits are pushing through to me even at that moment, and I was forced to listen to all of the Christian little kids musics because that's what they want to listen to at night when they're to bed. All the little Christian books I had to read to them, and it was like the needles chipping away at my heart exterior of my heart, and it definitely helped lead to my salvation eventually. But I was mocking them. I was being the bad guy to them, and they were doing the right thing. Like they were trying to walk the path of righteousness, and they were ministering to me. It was a humbling experience looking back at it. Yeah. Have you ever tried to lead your family biblically and felt like no one cared? Yeah. Yeah. I feel like they have felt that. Like me personally, my family, luckily now is really, we're walking, I believe, as a family with Christ. At the time, we were not because I was not. So that's kind of interesting. I writing these down before and now reading them back, I'm thinking like, oh, Jimmy's gonna have some good things for these. And now it's like, oh, Josh is gonna flip the script on himself right here and talk about it. I didn't think about that.
But it's also I haven't finished my first cup of coffee and my going through my brain Rolodex of events that have happened. It's just the recall is slow.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so we kind of stalled there. Let's pick back up. We're not gonna get out of Egypt if we at this pace.
Well, I was gonna bring up a minute ago, just like so after the foremen get beaten and things aren't going great between the Israelites and Moses and with Pharaoh, Moses goes back and talks to God, and I found it the last couple verses of Exodus 5. He's like, "Why have you brought trouble?" He's talking to God. "Why have you brought trouble on the people? Why is it that you even sent me? Ever since I went to Pharaoh and spoke in your name, it's just brought trouble on the people, and you haven't done anything to rescue the people at all." Like he's not in a good place with God. Like he's not happy. He's maybe complaining or whiny or just flat out angry. He's somewhere in that.
Is it just me, or do I always read that in Norm Macdonald's voice?
Oh,
yeah.
There we
go. Whenever I read
Okay.
this section, I always hear that, and I'm like, why even bother with this? Why? It's just like it's just funny to me. Because you never get the context, or you never get the inflections from reading text. And I always think of that in the Bible when I'm reading it. I'm always thinking of like what the people actually were feeling emotionally when they're going through these things, and how would they have said these things. Now, are these exact quotes in the Bible? I would say they're probably paraphrased of sorts, but these are the ideas and generalizations. Some of them are quotes. Yes, I would say there's probably a lot of direct quotes in the Bible, but some things might not have been exactly word for word, especially when you're going translations over the times. We're not losing the meaning, but definitely different ways to say things depending on how you translate it, right? And so, all that aside, I actually probably memorize this verse because I always go to it. But whenever the disciples, fast forward, a whole nother book of the Bible, or a whole New Testament, I guess you'd say, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and they're going out and doing works, and they're doing, I guess, exorcisms of demons, and they're telling them to help people and minister people, and they come back to Jesus, and they're like, we can't do this on this guy, and Jesus, he like pauses, and he's like, you can hear the sigh in the text. He's like, how long must I deal with this kind of scenario?
Long?
How long?
Yeah. How long must I deal with your whatever he says? But yeah, it's that
they
same
catch the demons out and the pigs and they jump off the cliff. I love that part of the Bible, but it's like I can hear the frustration of Jesus having to deal with people who are like not getting it. He's like, how long must I do this? Anyways, it always makes me think of that. And when you're reading that, I heard that in Norm Macdonald's voice, and it makes me laugh. He's like, oh, Lord, why have you done evil things to these people? Why have you even sent me? Why?
Yeah.
So what was the answer God gave him?
Well, yeah. So God does come back then in chapter 6. He's like, now you'll see what I'm going to do with Pharaoh. Because my mighty hand, he'll let them go. and because my mighty hand he will drive them out of the country. But then, so Moses goes, you drop down to verse 9, and Moses reported this to the Israelites, but they didn't listen because of their discouragement and the harsh labor. So even still, like, things aren't really going his way in the way that he would imagine, like being a great leader. I mean, we look up to, and Moses is even commended in the book of Hebrews as being, someone who had great faith, and it's commended to him as righteousness. But man, things weren't as easy as we think of when we hear the story of Moses in Sunday school, or vacation Bible school, and like, oh yeah, Moses, he did all these great 10 plagues and led them out of Egypt. But no, man, it was tough. It was not easy going.
Like, at jobs you've worked out in the past, that employee to employee, or even employee to manager camaraderie that is forged in the heat of a really terrible job and sucking, and you have a friendship that is formed, right? You might not even be like the same walks of life with some of these people that you work with, but because you go through the same suck, you kind of like are closer to each other. You know that feeling?
It's that same like you see the closeness of military guys when they get back from being on the battlefield. There's a tightness between that group. Yeah.
I have always looked at this interaction between Moses and God like that. I've always considered Moses has such great faith. Yes, it might have taken a great leap of faith for him in the beginning to start following what God was telling him to do, this impossible task. But think about it, like walking through all the suck that he went through in this process, God was there with him. And every single time he came back to him, complaining and my favorite word, lamenting. He was just like, this is terrible. Why are you having me do this? They hate me even more now, God. What are you doing? And God's like, I got this. Watch this. And he goes and does something amazing, right? And then things happen, and then Moses comes back to him again, like, oh, they hate me still. What's going on? And God's like, watch this. I think that's like a good foundational, like how that relationship with Moses and God got even stronger. Like, because later on we hear about them, fast forwarding a lot, I know, but God's cloud coming down onto the tent and Moses interacting with him as friends. They communed together and spoke daily almost as friends. I think this is a good reason why. Like, they went through the battle together and they enjoyed each other's company because they did these things. They probably remember that time he made frogs come out of everywhere, and God's like, yeah, I did that, And Moses like,
that was great.
But like that's the kind of, like, I always picture that's like the interactions they had. Like, obviously probably more respectful than that, but of the time, we don't know what happened behind the curtain. I imagine because they are so close friendship wise, they could have those conversations. Maybe not. Maybe it was more respectful probably at the time, but fast forwarding a little bit. Plagues. We got one plague, right, Jimmy? Or we get two? How many plagues were there?
Almost a dozen.
Almost a baker's dozen, you'd say?
A terrible baker.
Isn't that 10? Isn't baker's dozen 10?
13.
No? 13. Oh, you're right. It's more.
Yeah, it's more.
Whoops. Okay, well, it's a
terrible. If I go to Krispy Kreme and order a dozen, if I order a dozen donuts, my box has 10. We've got problems.
We got problems. Okay. So, why did it take so many plagues? Like, why did it need to get so difficult? And also, here's the bigger question. I mean, I didn't mean to get into this, but it's on here. I've always struggled with the whole hardening of Pharaoh's heart. In the past, I understand it more now, but in the early Christian days for me, and even pre-Christian, I would point to the hardening of Pharaoh's heart as a direct God intervention into man's free will. And I would be like, look, God's, intervening in our free will. That's not free will.
That's a point that's wrestled with for a long time. Yeah.
Right. So, why did all that need to happen? Like, why couldn't it just been a simple, well, let people go? Okay. And then Israelites all leave Egypt happily, and there's no big battle. There's no loss of life and horses. And God could have made this so much easier on the people of Egypt, even, and the people of Israel. Like, what was the point of all this stuff, I should say?
It, from my perspective, and I could be way off base, but it's a who is God in this situation? Who is the actual sovereign one in all of this? And reminding ourselves that in that time, the most powerful nation was Israel. Sorry, not Israel, Egypt. Misspoke there. Egypt was like the big boy on the block, and their leader Pharaoh was considered to be a god. And because of all this mighty stuff, look at this building we got back here. It's like all pointy and huge. Like, yeah, we're legit. Look at us. We got this other statue with a lion head of a person thing on it over here. Like, look how cool we are. Your people, you guys just like hang out over there and do all sorts of other weird stuff with your religion.
Make bricks.
Slave. Yeah, you make bricks and you're slaves. Like, how great could you be? Look at us and look at you. Of course, we are the more superior people, and our leader Pharaoh, who is a little g god, he obviously is superior to you. It had to be this way, where it was God showing, like, no, I am Lord over all. I am creator and sustainer of all things in this world. I've heard a breakdown before. I don't know the specifics of it, but I've heard people teach that the 10 plagues, each one attacked or went against a specific god in the Egyptian pantheon, so to speak, that the frogs had some sort of effect on it. I don't understand or know those details. I've heard that.
No, you got before. It's accurate. Yeah, there's
okay,
correlation
so there we
between
go. Well,
gods and
yeah.
Thought you were going someplace else with that.
No, I'm hearing. I don't know if you hear it, but there's a lot of really loud thunder outside right now.
Oh, that's what that is. I do hear that. I was like, man, someone's moving a chair at your house or something. But then I hear it here too.
No,
like, it's a loud chair.
The morning storm is rolling in.
Yeah, I saw that. It didn't rain last night. It was supposed to rain last night, and I was letting the dogs out this morning, and there was like no mud. I'm like, oh, this is convenient for me. But I was looking at my forecast and it said thunderstorms. Like, oh man. Anyways, back to this. We gotta wrap this up, Jimmy. You're getting long-winded again. So, okay, with all these plagues, the struggle, it's not easy because I guess, like you said, it's two front. Well, I guess you didn't say it, but I was thinking. Two front. The future Israelites, so the Egyptian, the slaves right now, they would probably have a harder time following a God that didn't show some power over the previous power, right? If you just had a little God come in and make some, demands, and then the people left, they would have a harder time following that versus all the crazy that happened in Egypt before they were released, right? Because they can look back at that, and we'll see that in our next couple segments. They refer back to, or at least God refers back to, and Moses does, I brought you out of Egypt. I guess Moses doesn't say that, but God says repeatedly, I brought you out of Egypt. I saved you from what you were, even though they keep on wanting to go back to it because they're misguided people. But it constantly points to that. And if it was a little moment, that wouldn't have much weight. You couldn't say, I brought you out of Egypt. And they're like, well, yeah, they let us go like on the first command. It was easy. You asked and he said, sure. Pharaoh said, sure, go ahead. But no, it was a battle. It was a battle back and forth, 10 plagues, and they're all memorable. Like, not things that were like, oh, maybe it was a plague. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just a coincidence that a few locusts came. No, it was a massive thing that devastated the whole region. Like, it was definitely God did this, God did this, God did this. It wasn't like maybe God did something here, but we got out because we were lucky.
It could not be ignored.
Exactly, not mistakenable. Couldn't mistake it. I guess you can't really draw that. Oh, and the other half, sorry. The other, there's two parts to that. There was big and, oh, I lost that second half. Sorry. I had a point. It was good.
It
It was
was a
really
really
good.
good point.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, I'm sorry you're missing out.
Yeah, maybe someday we'll do another backup section on that.
All right.
Bringing it back to fathers, bringing it back to dads, kind of the point of this, right? There's a lot of struggle that Moses went through, and he persevered and he pushed through it, right? But he stayed faithful with God the whole time. He didn't. There wasn't a moment in this recorded history, like there is a moment later on we'll talk about later, but there is not a moment here where Moses went into Pharaoh's chambers and did something on his own. Moses didn't ever say in this process, I got this. Moses relied on God the whole time. And like Moses in that scenario, us as fathers, when we're leading our kids and our family and our wife and our household per se, we need to also not say, I got this. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from today is anything that we try to do ourselves saying, I got this, we're going to have more struggles. Now, are we going to have struggles following God? Absolutely. It's going to happen. We're going to have not only the internal struggles for ourselves, thinking it's hard and we can't do it. We're going to be fighting that always. That's how we were built. We're going to have external struggles of the world telling us we shouldn't do things. We're going to have conflict of people telling us that we shouldn't act a certain way. We shouldn't dress a certain way. We should dress with less clothes. We should be more revealing. We should go out and we should drink and do drugs, and we should do these things to help ourselves feel better for ourselves, right? But we're as men of God leading our family, we're gonna struggle and have to stand fast and rely on the Lord. That's what we're called to do. That's what Moses did. That's the parallel we're drawing here. Is Moses, even though it got worse, even though his own people struggled more because of what he did for them, because God was having him do those things. Like that, us leading our families through Christianity, through this world, is going to be struggle. It's going to be a struggle. Like, we're going to fight. They're going to fight with it. They're going to suffer. They're going to be persecuted as well. And as dads, it's going to be hard to see that. And we're going to want to back down as we see our family struggling more. But we have to persevere. We have to stay true to the path that God wants us to walk with our families.
One brief tie-in that I've got is you maybe are hitting that similar point where we've got our first teenager years happening now, and it's that we don't fit in a good handful of regular polite society, so to speak, where we've made certain decisions about how our family functions and the decisions we make on how we interact and communicate with others, and we don't fit in some ways. And that can be hard, very, very hard for a teenager who's trying to sort out who they are and how they fit into this big, great, wonderful world. It doesn't get easier, but we are trying to do what's right. And so as dads out there, we're in that trench with you, just as we were talking about earlier, those, brothers.
Oh no. I think Jimmy just dropped his internet. We have a thunderstorm going on right now. Back?
Oh, I'm back.
A little power surge there?
Something. I don't know. I left and came back on my own. I didn't touch a thing.
Hey, welcome back.
But we probably need to wrap up.
We need to wrap this up.
It's getting scary out there.
Okay, so man, we might just pick up some of this before we go next. I'll have to redo our next session here. We didn't get out of Egypt. We're stuck in Egypt still, Jimmy.
We're not going to get there today.
Yeah. Okay. Well, join us next week, and we're going to see how Moses leads God's people out of Egypt, and and what kind of leadership that takes from Moses' standpoint, and more so from God's standpoint to Moses, because God's leading Moses in the entire, and he's walking him through how to lead, and Moses is learning how to lead, and Moses is trying to lead his people out in a godly way, if you will. So we'll talk more about that next week. As always, like, subscribe, follow us on the socials, DadSchoolPodcast.com. If you have any questions or comments and you're not trying to sell us anything, please reach out and email us. I have so many offers, Jimmy. We could, if we had all the monies, we could just have a great show. But because we have no monies, we can't have a great show with all these offers I'm getting. People are telling me, at least. Also, we're terrible at marketing, apparently, according to everyone else on the internet. So just keep that in mind. I'm ignoring those emails. But closing comments.
Yeah. No, sponsor us and send us free samples of something delicious. I'm down for that.
That's good. Okay, yeah, we'll have to evaluate those free samples, Jimmy. Yes.
Yep.
Until next time.
Supply of free samples.
DadSchoolPodcast.com. Leave your questions and comments. I'm Josh. That's Jimmy. We'll see you next time.